Wooden raised beds are a staple in home gardening, offering better drainage, soil control, and a neat, elevated growing space. But there's one downside every gardener eventually faces: wood rot. It doesn't matter if you're using cedar, pine, or even pressure-treated lumber. Once moisture, microbes, and time start breaking things down, your beautiful raised bed can quickly become a splintered, soggy mess. Wood rot is, honestly, a challenge that every gardener with raised beds will face sooner or later. Even the best-looking wooden beds can fall victim to decay, and it can happen faster than you might expect, especially with all the exposure to the elements. While most people know the basics, like using rot-resistant wood or avoiding direct soil contact, this guide goes far beyond that. Here you'll discover how to extend the life of wooden raised beds using smart, less talked about strategies that truly work in real garden conditions. One of the key mistakes many gardeners make is treating raised beds like static structures. In reality, wood in the garden faces extreme temperature shifts, constant moisture exposure, and biological activity from microbes, fungi, and insects. The first step to preventing rot is recognizing that wood maintenance is not just about choosing the right lumber, but about managing the entire system the bed operates in. Wood rots because fungi thrive in damp, oxygen-rich environments, so really, anything you can do to interrupt that cycle makes a difference. Start with airflow. Most gardeners, overlook the space around the outside of the bed. Allowing your raised bed to breathe by giving at least 6 inches of clearance between beds or other structures can reduce moisture buildup and condensation. Trimming back nearby foliage or grass prevents shaded moist pockets that cling to the wooden surface and provide an ideal environment for rot fungi to spread. Drainage is another critical area that deserves more attention. Even if your bed drains well from the top down, pooling water around the base exterior of the bed can silently soak into the wood over time. Create a slight slope or install a gravel trench around your beds to divert water away, especially if you live in an area with heavy rain. The goal is to keep the ground surrounding the wood as dry as possible for as long as possible. Next, consider lining strategies, not just on the inside. Most gardeners know about lining the inside of raised beds with plastic or landscape fabric to reduce soil-to-wood contact, but very few line the bottom of the bed exterior, where moisture from the ground rises and gets trapped against the wooden base. Lining just the lower few inches with a breathable barrier, like permeable garden fabric or a bitumen membrane underneath the wood, can block rising moisture without trapping water, which, often happens with plastic. Sealing the wood is also important, but honestly, many gardeners stop at just one coat or use products that aren't really designed for soil exposure. For long-term resistance, it's best to use a garden-safe, penetrating oil sealant that's specifically formulated for outdoor garden beds. These soak deep into the wood grain, creating a water-repelling barrier without forming a surface film that, over time, flakes away. So, you'll want to apply multiple coats, allowing for deep saturation, especially at the joints and those lower edges where water tends to collect the most. And, don't forget to repeat sealing every year, ideally during the dry season when the wood is at its most absorbent. The joints of your raised bed are often the first parts to go. Where two boards meet, there's usually a tiny gap where water settles, and it can stay wetter there longer than on exposed surfaces. To prevent rot in these spots, reinforce your joints with corrosion-resistant metal corner brackets. These not only add structural integrity, but they also act as a shield against rain and hose water. You might want to consider running a bead of garden-safe caulk between the joints before fastening them, to seal those seams and eliminate hidden moisture pockets. So don't ignore the role of soil itself in wood decay. Healthy, well-draining, microbially balanced soil will actually rot wood slower than dense, poorly aerated soil that, holds water like a sponge. Adding biochar to your soil mix, along with organic matter that supports a strong fungal-bacterial balance, really does play a role in protecting your wood from excessive rot. Balanced soil drains better, stays aerated, and doesn't leach acidic compounds that accelerate decay. It's a subtle, yet powerful way to use soil health to your advantage. Mulching habits also matter. Piling mulch up against the sides of your raised bed may seem helpful for weed control, but it also creates a moist environment that can hold water right against the wood. Keep mulch at least an inch away from the wood surface on the outside of the bed. Let the wood breathe. Even the position of your raised beds can influence longevity. If possible, place beds where they'll get morning sun to dry off early condensation. Finally, When it's time to build or replace a bed, consider modular construction. Using screws instead of nails allows for easy disassembly, inspection, and maintenance over time. Being able to take apart a bed to check for rot or reseal trouble spots before it's too late gives you control that permanently fastened beds don't offer. The truth is, no wooden bed lasts forever, but with the right proactive steps, it's possible to extend the life of your raised beds by 5 to 10 years, even in tough climates. Treat your raised beds like living garden tools that need care, not just containers to hold soil. When you protect the wood, you're protecting the investment you've made in your garden's long-term productivity. If this guide helped you think differently about raised bed maintenance, don't forget to subscribe to HydroHaven for more smart, regenerative garden techniques. Share this with a fellow gardener who wants their raised beds to last, and let us know in the comments what's worked best for you. Your soil deserves structure that stands the test of time.